Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR. We got a lot to talk about going on in the Big Ten. Boy, I thought the offseason in football was bad in July. I'm quickly learning doing my first ever podcast in July for college basketball. It's rough. Kent, the news is not booming, man.
I know it's fine though, man. The important thing is that we still care about college basketball, and that you and I get to talk about it. Even if there's nothing to talk about, we can make it up, and we'll kind of find some topics to talk about here. And like I said, important thing is that we still care. That's all that really matters.
We certainly care. We are here, not wasting our time at all on a podcast in college basketball in the middle of July.
Let's not do 2 hours though this time.
No, I don't think I can handle 2 hours.
I don't think I could either. And we would need Dylan for that one if we were going to do that again.
Yeah. I think Philip was in the stream or watching the stream last night, and he said 2 hours and 20 minutes. I was like, no way, not last night. So, Kent, this is our first podcast about college basketball in a while. You've been doing all right, man?
Yes, man. I've been enjoying the family. Lots of swimming, lots of activities, lots of eating. I think I don't know if I could possibly gain any more weight because I'm already pretty big, but I'm doing my best to eat as disgustingly as I possibly can this summer, and it's been great. It's just been a really fun summer. How are you, man?
I'm good. I don't know if I'm just eat whatever I want and don't care about it good. That sounds. I'm a little jealous that you just have decided that you care nothing about your health and what you're gonna eat. I mean, I'd be at McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and things like that almost every meal.
I kind of live my whole life like that. It's like we're gonna do a podcast. Let's just do it and see what happens. If I'm gonna go eat something, let's just eat what I like and see what happens. And it's working out so far. I might be dead in like a year. But it'll be a fun year, though. I promise you that.
Look out for casual eating on Twitter here in a couple months.
Casual food reviews. It's going to be all Taco Bell items. Every single review is going to be Taco Bell.
And then you're gonna have a soft taco review, and a month later you're kind of like soft taco, but I let it sit on the island in the kitchen for 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Then I ate it. How does it taste?
Yeah, and we need to know that information for sure.
The spoiler, probably not good.
Probably not good. Yeah. I'm going to guess not good.
Phillips in here. He's saying 2 hours and 30 minutes now. So
is that how? That's not how long we went, right? Or is he asking for that?
I don't know. I don't think we went 2 hours and 30.
I like Phillips' picture, by the way. It did remind me of one other thing I didn't tell you about. This past weekend, I was in charge of my best friend's bachelor party, and one of the things we did was we went to the Northern Wisconsin State Fair. As this is part of his bachelor party, and stick with me on this, but we went to a Ludacris concert at that state fair. So not only did we get to see Ludacris, but we also got to see people showing cows, which was incredible, and probably the best I could do as far as organizing a bachelor party. I think that's the best I could do.
Wow. Normally people go to a bar,
Mm-hmm.
get a stripper, something like that. No, you got Ludacris and cows.
Cows. I mean, we did more stuff. It was a whole weekend. We did more activities, but that was one of the things that we did. It was fun to see how uncomfortable my boy Brad was around some livestock.
I love it. All right. Well, we can't do 2 hours and 30 minutes, so I guess we better get started into the topics. If Dylan were here, I'm sure we could. But no Dylan tonight. So, Kent, which new Big Ten team will first win the Big Ten championship? I'll say tournament or regular season, either one. And then who will finish last in the Big Ten first? So last year we had Michigan finish last. Years before that, we've had teams like Minnesota, Northwestern. Northwestern's not been last. Were they last 1 year under Chris Collins? They were
I don't
near
think
last
so.
1 year. Maybe they weren't last, but it's Washington, Oregon, UCLA, USC. Kent, I'll ask you for which team will win the conference tournament or win the regular season Big Ten crown first?
I think the easier question to answer is the regular season Big Ten crown, because there's a little more consistency around the types of teams that win that year in and year out. The Big Ten tournament, anyone can get hot for a couple games, and there could be some upsets on the other side of the bracket and what have you, and anyone could really win that if they have like a top 5, top 7 type team. You can go on a run. So that one's tough to answer, but I'll start with the regular season one. I think it's UCLA. I think it's UCLA that has the team that's built the best to outright win a regular season title. And I base most of that off of the fact that I think they could win this year. I think they're one of those teams that are in the top 5. I'll say they're top 5 for teams I think could win the conference this year, regular season. And I also base it off the coaching. So you look at those 4 teams, you have Danny Sprinkle. I don't think that he's in line to win one anytime soon. And then Dana Altman, mixed reviews on him. I just don't think it's going to be quicker than either one of these other 2 guys. I think Musselman could
tournament this past year.
He won the tournament?
Yeah, he won the tournament.
Okay. Yeah, that's different. Did he win the Pac-12 though?
No. They were 4th seed in the tournament. They beat Colorado in the tournament championship. Who'd they beat?
That's a big.
Arizona was the big team they beat to get there. Anyway, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's a big indicator right there. What you just said, they beat Colorado. Like, come on, man, you're in the Big Ten. Now Colorado was all right, but this is the Big Ten now. This is gonna be tough to win a regular season title, I think. So really, to me, it came down to Musselman or Cronin, and I think that I just picked UCLA because I think they could do it quicker, and it's because of Cronin, and it's because of the team that they have already built for this season.
Yeah, I totally agree on regular season. I think they have a really good shot of winning the Big Ten regular season this year. We're going to get into some odds later, and that will kind of reveal that. But I think they have a really good shot this year, and I think that UCLA plays a Big Ten-friendly brand of basketball where they would be able to last the entire season. Not predicting them to win the Big Ten this year, but they have a good shot at it. And I think the way Mick Cronin runs his program, I think they could have a good shot at it again the year after that, and possibly a couple years after that as well. So eventually, as long as Mick Cronin stays at UCLA, which I don't see why he wouldn't, they seem to have a good shot in my mind to win the regular season. However, Eric Musselman, bit of a wild card. Guy can really recruit. Has brought in some really good players this year. I don't think they're going to win it this year, but the way he's able to recruit and bring players in could happen in the future. But if I'm going with a team that can win the conference tournament, like I said, I'm looking at Oregon to be that possibility. Dana Altman is a legendary coach. I mean, he has some of the most wins of any active coach right now. I don't think he has the most. I think Bill Self might have him beat. I got to look that up to remember for sure. But he's up there in the most wins. And like I said, they won the Pac-12 last year. But the 2 years before that, UCLA did make it to the Pac-12 championship game. They did not win the Pac-12 championship in the tournament, that they did make it to that game the 2 years prior to that. Oh, and Oregon also won it in 2019. So,
but I was going to add to that too. UCLA does have a history of winning in tournaments, though. Like they've made deep runs in the actual tournament. So it wouldn't surprise me if they came over to the Big Ten and they started making runs as like a 3 seed or a 5 seed or whatever, and wound up in a few Big Ten tournament championship games. So it's an interesting question to think about too, because of the dynamic of the sport now with how fast everything changes. Like I'm thinking about Washington in football right now for whatever reason, but like Michigan in basketball, for example, they could go from a shot away from a Final Four to last place in the conference in just a year and a half. Like it happens that quickly. So it's hard to measure like 5 years out what's really going to happen, but if you're looking at the next 2 years, I would say that it's UCLA for both. I would feel comfortable picking them for either one of those questions, and then Oregon or USC for the tournament, and I would feel comfortable picking Washington as not winning either before any of those teams. I feel like just the way right now, that's how I feel.
Yeah, no, and I think it's weird because I pulled up the Pac-12 conference tournament and would just thought to myself, when was the last time UCLA won the Pac-12 conference tournament? Obviously, this is different than the Big Ten, but I looked it up. the last time UCLA won the Pac-12 conference tournament, not got a win in it, they won the entire thing, was 2008. Every single other Pac-12 team on this list has won the Pac-12 tournament since then. USC won it in 2019. Washington went back-to-back in 2010 and 2011 as a 3 seed both years. And then, I apologize, 2014 they won it. I'm stupid. 2014 they won it. But still, Oregon has won the Pac-12 tournament 1, 2, 3, 4 times since then. I mean, that's... Oh, no, I'm stupid. There's one more. 3 times.
Come on, JR. You got this. You got this.
It's July, man. I can't count tonight, apparently. But, yeah, 3 times since then. So, I mean, it's kind of a long shot. It's kind of a dark horse because I think in this next question we're going to possibly talk about Oregon a little bit. But in my mind, Oregon, they might do it. I mean, they've won the Pac-12 championship as a 4 seed, as a 6 seed. Or, no, sorry. 4 seed, 1 seed, and a 6 seed. Yeah. So,
that kind of makes what like the point that I was trying to say is that anybody that's in that top 7 just has to get on a run, you know, here at the end of the year, and they can win the Big Ten tournament. And it just makes it really interesting. I don't know because you could pick any one of those 3 teams, but for some reason I'm more leaning UCLA still, just because I've seen them make such deep runs in the actual tournament. I think they could do it now that they're in a big boy conference with us.
And I can't argue with it. Like I said, I think UCLA fits into the Big Ten probably the best out of these 4 teams. So if you fit in well and you have tournament success just in the regular tournament, not the Pac-12 tournament, you can't really argue with it.
Right.
Philip says, how many of the new teams miss the Big Ten tournament? I assume he's meaning this year. The Big Ten tournament will only be 14 teams, so 4 teams will not make the Big Ten tournament this coming year. Kent, I'll send it to you first. Do you think any of these teams will not make the Big Ten tournament this year?
I don't think Washington will make it. I feel really confident about that, actually. Yeah, I could be wrong. Maybe they'll sneak in as like a 10 seed. I don't know. And also, just as a side note, real quick, can we figure out a way to get everybody in? As a person that attends the Big Ten tournament every year, there has got to be a way we set this bracket up so that I get to see all the teams play. I might not be able to see Washington play in person this year unless they make the Big Ten tournament. And if they miss it, I just don't get to see them play live this year.
Okay.
That's just how it goes.
Counter, okay? Not everybody makes the tournament, but the teams that don't make the tournament are forced to go to the tournament and watch the entire thing. But like up in the nosebleeds where like nobody else is. So like you can't really see them up there. So if they're on their phones or they're like, messing around with each other, they're not going to get in trouble or anything like that. But it is kind of funny that you're like, oh, these 14 teams made it. But, there's Danny Sprinkle up there. He's already been fired, but he has to go to the Big Ten tournament because he doesn't get his contract money unless he goes. I don't know.
I would also like to submit that the teams have to sit by me too. So like double punishment. They have to listen to me like heckle the whole time, and like watch me drink and like just say obnoxious stuff, and
they can't drink.
Yeah, no, they can't drink, and they have to laugh at all my jokes, everything I say that is borderline funny. They have to laugh, so all that has to happen if they miss the tournament. No, I do wish that all the teams were there though. I wish I could see them all play because that was what the fun part about it is. You watch them all year, and then I go at the end of the year, and I get to see them in person, and it's like, oh, bummer. I'm not going to see 4 of the teams this year, but that's fine. I would say that this year, though, it would be Washington, and if I had to pick a second team, which I don't think any of the other 3 will miss, but I think I would say USC, right? If you had to pick a second team?
Maybe. I don't know. Eric Musselman is such a wild card to me. I think he enters the Big Ten as a top 5, top 6 coach in the Big Ten, but he also takes over for USC, and he's bringing some guys with him from Arkansas. He's bringing a couple recruits, but it's not really, looking like the best roster in the world to me. So, could Eric Musselman, could he have another good year where he coaches well, or are we going to have rumors swirling that his players are, interacting with each other.
Right.
Again, I don't know how else to put it. I don't want to talk about it. But, are we going to have more of that? So I don't know. Like, he's such a wild card to me. He could win the Big Ten tournament, take his shirt off, and throw it above his head. Or he could miss the Big Ten tournament, and we'll see pictures of him crying on USC's floor. I mean, it's such a wild card to me. I have no idea what to predict.
Yeah.
Sonny says, "Missed you, JR. Miss you too. Missed you." Did I have a responsibility I was supposed to go to with you, Sonny? If I
No,
did
he's
today.
just saying that he missed you, like he's missed this show, I think.
Oh, okay.
And he does this on purpose to leave me out of stuff and try to hurt my feelings. This is what he's doing.
I want to make sure I didn't agree to be on Locked On with him or something like
nope.
that. I just missed it.
Or maybe, I mean, that's also a possibility, but I
did.
think he's just trying to take a jab at me.
Yeah.
And it's hurting my feelings. You know what, Sonny? It's starting to affect me.
Yeah. Go see. Go talk about your feelings with somebody, Kent, and we'll see. Philip Musbus needs a new transmission. See, that's the thing. Like, I could see Eric Musman, like I said, just having a terrible season, and the USC hire is not going well, or I could see everything going really well. I don't know. It's a wild card for me. So, the other question I had, and I don't know how much time we'll spend on this, but which new Big Ten team will finish last in the conference first? So, which Big Ten team overall regular season? Obviously, we can't do conference because not everybody's going to make the conference tournament, but finish completely last in the Big Ten. I feel like it's probably Washington. What say you, Kent?
I think it's Washington as well, but I would like to submit that if what you just brought up a few minutes ago did happen and Mick Cronin left UCLA, I think that program would fall apart a little bit and there would be a chance that they could finish in last place. I think he's that important to their basketball team. He's what makes them go. He's what makes recruiting go, and they would have to make a splash hire after him. Like if UCLA hired Sprinkle after Mick Cronin left, I think that they could have a real shot at finishing last. A hire like that, I'm saying. Yeah. So I'll say it's Washington right now, but if they don't finish last this year, then I feel like Danny will start getting things put together out there in Washington a little bit better, and then I wouldn't see any of these teams finishing last for a while. It's tough. It's tough to say that anyone would finish last.
Yeah, I'm not predicting Washington will finish last this year. I'm just saying, like, of these teams, which one will probably do it first? Like I said, probably Washington. Danny Sprinkle could be really good too. Obviously he had a good career, leading up to this, and as Philip is saying here, $2 million for Great Osibor to finish last. Not so great. You can't finish last when you have somebody on your team named Great, right, Kent?
Right. No, you can't do that. You got to be in the top half. I feel like if you have somebody named Great, you got to be great.
Immediate firing for Danny Sprinkle if they finish last with somebody on his team named Great.
No, I think you got to give him a year or two.
Okay. All right. Well, they did give Great $2 million. So
because what if he gets somebody next year, named like I'm for sure going to win, like that's his name, like Winner. Yeah. Winner is his name. Yeah.
Winner.
All
right, so I did look it up because I did want to check myself and make sure I was right. So Northwestern in 2019-2020, they finished second last in the Big Ten, so they did not actually finish last. Michigan finished last year. Nebraska has finished last multiple times. Minnesota has finished last once. And then what was this year?
This year was Michigan.
Oh, yeah. This year was Michigan. And the year before that was Ohio State. The year they were second to last. So good job, Chris Holtmann. See ya.
I thought we were going to have some Chris Collins slander on here there for a second, and I was like, I can't stand for that. I thought you were going to say the COVID year was fake anyways, though, right? Wasn't that the COVID year? 19 and 20?
No, 19 and 20. So they had COVID started in March. So the March Madness was double madness.
But he knew COVID was coming, though, is what I'm trying to say. Like, he knew that was going to happen. We're talking about Chris Collins right now. Like, this guy can see the future. Yeah. So he was preparing for that mentally, yeah.
Yeah, that was his coaching sense. All right, Kent, I do apologize. 2018, 2019, Northwestern, 4-16 in the conference. They did finish last. So,
was Collins there then?
I think so.
Huh.
But Chris Collins, he's a changed man. Okay,
That's right.
he got his Coach of the Year award, and he is completely new man. Yes, Chris Collins has been there since 2013, 2014, and his conference record has been 6 or more wins every year except for 2018, 2019. So
I hate to hear that.
thank you.
I hate
college.
to hear that. I wasn't as big of a fan of his back then, though, so that might have a little bit of an impact on it as well. Like, once he knew that I was like kind of pulling for him, I think he started turning things around in a major way.
Yeah, you were far more casual back then.
Yeah. Now I'm just kind of casual.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change my Twitter name to that, kind of casual Big Ten.
Each year you gotta get less casual.
Yeah. Like just work on like eventually I'll be an expert.
Philip said 2021 was 2020, 2021 was no fans. Yes, they so it was the year right before that. So
must have been hot in those basketball stadiums with no fans, right?
Right. He just needed the reset of a no fan season, and boom, we have Chris Collins, Kent's best coach in the Big Ten. So can't be upset about that.
I think you just totally missed my fan joke, by the way.
No, what'd you say?
I said it must have been hot in those arenas with no fans.
Do they have fans in arenas to like blow at the top? I don't think I've ever seen them. They don't at Assembly Hall. It is hot in there, I'll tell you. I've gone to plenty of Assembly Hall games. Very hot in that arena. All right. Kent, new Big Ten head coaches this season. So obviously you could talk about Dana Altman and Mick Cronin if you wanted to. However, I'm just going at new guys hired. So we'll keep it to 4 coaches. Why am I blanking on his name, the Michigan coach?
Dusty May.
Why did I blank on his name?
Dustin.
I'm struggling tonight, man. Dusty May for Michigan, Jake Diebler for Ohio State, Eric Musselman for USC, and Danny Sprinkle for Washington. And I went through and looked at the numbers and tried to find the average record over the past 5 years. Now, the reason I did this is because Jake Diebler came out and said, we will not lower the standard at Ohio State, which it's like, okay, well, say you're going to raise the standard. And that's like, we are not going to lose this game. It's like, okay, go win the game, you know? Like, I don't know. Like, go tell us you're going to win the game. I don't know. Maybe I'm being picky here. But so what I looked at was kind of what the standard had been the past 5 years at each of these 4 programs. Michigan has had 1 regular season championship. In the Big Ten, they have not had a conference championship. None of these teams have had a conference championship, and Ohio State, USC, and Washington have not had a regular season championship since 2019-2020 season. Michigan in that time has been 17.4 and 14.4. Ohio State has been 20 and 13. USC has been 22 and 10.8. And Washington, the only team with an average losing record of 14 and 16.8. So my question to you, Kent, all right, is do you believe any of these coaches will raise or lower the standard? Not any of these. Let's go coach by coach. Do you believe the coach will raise or lower the standard at their program over the past 5 years? Let's start with Dusty May.
I think that for Dusty May, it's a really difficult question because I think out of all these coaches, he's the hardest one because I'm wondering, are we saying the standard is what this average record is or what Michigan fan standard is or what the general public standard is? Like, whatever you want to go with. I just ran the numbers for the average record to give us kind of like do you think they're going to win more than 17 games on average per season? But if you want to go by like fans or media or something like that, I'm cool with that too. Okay. I'll say for Dusty May, I think that in general, he is going to raise the program's standards because Juwan Howard has lowered it so much. Yes. For as far as, what happens in the locker room, academics, big one this past year especially, and of course winning, like another big one this past year especially. But if you look at the last 5 seasons, Juwan Howard did do some winning. So just strictly based off the average record, it's going to be close on whether his average the next 5 years, let's say if he stays there, is going to be better than that or not. I would see him, hovering around that 20-win mark every year. I think he's a good coach. I think he's proven this offseason that He can recruit the transfer portal and also still recruit high school kids. So I don't think that Michigan's going to get worse. They can't get worse than last year. And I think that as a program overall, it's getting a facelift. Just as far as I shouldn't say it like that because that kind of sounds a little bit race charged. But what I'm trying to say is that
you don't mean it that way.
Yeah, I don't mean it that way at all. The standard is changing overall for the whole program is what I'm trying to get at from where it's been the last couple of years. So I'll say it is raising with Dusty May.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer raised, especially after the past couple seasons. The one thing for me in there is that Juwan did win the regular season championship for the Big Ten in 2021, I believe it was. Now, of course, you're going to get people say, well, that was with Beeline's guys and stuff like that, and he was kind of left over with that. And I think that's valid to a certain extent, but and he did make multiple or just one Sweet 16?
Multiple.
Multiple. Okay. So he did go to a couple Sweet 16s. So, I mean, do I think he's going to win more than 17 games per season? Yes. I think Michigan is too good of a basketball program for them to go out and hire a high-quality coach like Dusty May for them not to win more than 17 games per season. Do I think it's a given that he's going to just, here in the next few years, win a Big Ten championship and make a deep run in the NCAA tournament? I mean, I could see him winning the Big Ten championship, but the NCAA tournament is so hard to predict every year. I mean, unless you're Kansas, unless you're, some of these teams that just make it far every single year, UConn, like that, it's so hard to predict that somebody is going to make a Sweet 16, somebody is going to make an Elite 8. I mean, we've seen really, really good coaches. Matt Painter struggled to do that. So, by wins and losses, yes, I think he'll raise the standard over the past 5 years. Will he accomplish all the things that Juwan Howard accomplished? I think so, but I can't say for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of where I fall too, and especially if you start digging back farther, when you're talking about standards, if you're looking back at years prior to that even, they made a couple national championship games, and I don't think that Dusty May is necessarily going to do that, within the next even 7 years, I guess. I think that would be a very it's an obtainable goal, but it's not something that I can put a stamp on and be like, he's going to keep the standard the same and raise it because he's going to go to a national championship game. I'm not so sure about that. He might not do that, but like I said, I think it's a good hire. I think that across the board, with academics, with recruiting, and with everything else that happens within a basketball program, the standard has been raised.
I agree. Philip says, does Michigan get 5 years of Dusty before Indiana comes to get him? That was the number one reason why I didn't want Dusty May to come to Ohio State. But obviously, I mean, I'm talking about Jake Diebler here in a second. It's going to sound like I would have rather had Dusty May than Jake Diebler. But I mean,
when's the last time that's happened that a coach is I can't even think of a coach that has switched teams within the conference. I know it's probably happened before, and maybe I'm missing one that's happened super recently, but I don't see that happening. That would be that'd be a big shock to me. Even if it is Dusty May in Indiana, I would be really shocked to see him switch teams in conference. That would be.
I mean, in my opinion, if that was going to happen, number one, it can definitely happen.
Right.
It doesn't happen often, like you said, but because of Dusty May's allegiance, I don't know if allegiance, but his history with Indiana, it certainly can happen, and that would be my biggest fear in the world. Philip says Chris Beard, Texas to Texas, so that's a good example in the Big 12. I don't know if I can think of an example in the Big 10, but as far as I'm concerned, the way it happens, if Mike Woodson just really gets IU, running and doing well, and 3-4 years from now, Mike Woodson decides to, hang it up and say, I've done what I'm supposed to do. We've got Indiana back to the tournament consistently. They've competed for the Big Ten consistently, and I'm going to, move on and give it to the next guy. I could see Dusty May taking that over because it's a good situation and someplace he can win and someplace he has history with. But if Mike Woodson drives the program into the ground, I don't know if you can see that happening.
If I was going to answer that question, though, real quick, though, JR, I would say that he's definitely not going in the next 5 years. I don't think. Unless like you said, it would have to be Woodson would have to go on a run because, in my opinion, what's going to happen with Indiana, they're either going to be really good the next few years, and Woodson hangs on for that whole 5 years maybe. Don't know what his contract situation is. Or they're going to be bad, and they're going to get rid of him in the next 2 years. And I think it's too early at that point for Dusty May to leave Michigan to go to a team that's inside of the conference. So, yeah, I would predict that Indiana will not have Dusty May in the next 5 years. That's my prediction.
I think I would probably predict that too, but I can't say it's not a possibility. I can't completely rule it out. So
yeah.
Ed Cooley, Providence, Georgetown, another good example there from Phillip. All of these are coming back now. Chris Beard, he did go to Ole Miss after Texas, but of course he had that fallout at Texas, and that's why he left there.
I don't know if it's happened in the Big Ten before.
I don't think it's happened in the Big Ten. No.
But I guess with more teams joining, the possibilities of that happening is higher at this point.
Hey, in football, we just had Ohio State hire a head coach in the Big Ten to be their offensive coordinator, so it could happen.
We did have some movement. I can't remember now because it was a few weeks back, but I believe we had some assistant coaches move this offseason within the conference, and I just can't quite remember who it was now.
Taylor Battle went from Northwestern to Ohio State. I remember that one. There were a couple other ones, but I can't remember exactly off the top of my head either.
That's Parks, a win for Diebler, getting him away from Collins.
Yeah. Collins, one of the best coaches, if not the
or
best.
Maybe you know what? Maybe he's not that good.
Tree.
Maybe Collins knows something that Diebler doesn't.
Okay.
Maybe he's not that good.
Okay, shut up. Jeff Parks, if Woodson doesn't make the dance this year, he'll be gone. I agree. I think he had the heat last year. I think he got Bryson Tucker, which was helpful after losing out on the
he will make the dance this year, by the way. Indiana is for sure going to the tournament.
He has to. But
I am confident.
That's the part of it. Like, if he doesn't, it's like, dude, you just squandered all this talent. This year should be very good. No excuse for not winning with the squad. Totally agree. All right, we got to move on. Jake Diebler, I think, so resident Ohio State fan here, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts. I could see it happening, but at the same time, I don't like the quote of "we are not going to lower the standard." It's like, okay, well, then say you're going to raise the standard, okay? Like, let's not shoot for, like, we are not going to be worse than Chris Holtmann was, who finished second last in the Big Ten just 2 years ago. It's like,
yeah.
All right, I don't want to hear that we're going to be third last, Like, I want to hear that we're going to be in the top 5. We're going to be in the top half of the conference consistently. We're going to battle and contend for the Big Ten and the Big Ten tournament. Like, I want to hear that stuff. But, 20 wins, like, it's wild that Chris Holtmann the past 5 years has averaged 20 wins in the Big Ten, and he just got fired. Now, I'm not justifying it, or not saying it wasn't justified at all. I think it was justified to hire Chris Holtmann, but that just kind of speaks to the 3 years that he had before. This was a top 25 program every single year, and then, he got some young players and didn't know what to do with them. But do I think Jake Diebler's going to win more than 20 games every single season? I can see it happening. I don't feel great about it happening. Kent, help me decide here. What say you?
In my notes, I wrote down that I think he's going to lower the standard based off of just wins alone. I don't think that it's realistic for us to expect, Diebler to go in there and get 20 wins a season and say, like, in the next 5 years, the average is going to be 21 wins a season. Like that's what you're saying when you're saying you're raising the standard for the record. Now, I will say that from a public perception, I think that he has raised the standard because people hated Holtmann so much. Like everybody wanted him gone, right? So I feel like from that point of view, he's raised the standard, and the rest of it I feel like is an unknown because the rest of the guys that we're about to talk about have all coached before, and they've been head coaches before, and Diebler wasn't. So it's not like we have a track record beside this past year, of course, the games that he coached. He doesn't have a huge track record that we could go back and be like, this is how good he does with recruiting in the past. This is how good he does in big games in the past, except for the Purdue game. We have that. But, we don't have anything to measure it against, so I can't really say that he's going to raise the standard in any of the other departments at this point. Like you said, it's an unknown. But if you're just looking at the record and you compare the next 5 years to this average that you just pulled up, 20 and 13, I think it's going to be lower the next 5 years.
And see, I really don't have a great disagreement with that. I do cling to the Purdue win. I do cling to the win against Michigan State on the road. I do cling to the Illinois game. I think that he coached that game very well. I don't like to blame the refs consistently, and I'm not going to blame the refs, but I do think that, the refereeing in that game was a little questionable, and I think that if it was a little bit better, you would have seen Ohio State possibly win. But at the end of the day, you lost the game. Doesn't matter. Refs are going to ref the way they do. So I'm not going to blame them. But at the end of the day, like, he has potential. He has shown that he can coach in game and do a good job with these players. It's just, and he has the connections. His dad was a high school coach in Ohio for a long time. His brother, John Diebler, legend at Ohio State, coaching over at Butler now. So I don't know. I'm on that fence, and I lean toward he's gonna be better, but I also acknowledge that I'm probably a little bit biased. So. All right, let's move on to the next one, Kent. USC, Eric Musselman comes in, and USC actually with the best average record here of all four of the teams, 22 and 10.8. They do not have any regular season championships. They do not have any conference tournament championships. I could see Eric Musselman getting, in the next 5 years, a conference championship in the regular season or a conference tournament championship. I do think that there will be seasons when he has a little bit of a hard time, but I think overall, he's going to get over 20 wins, and if he gets over 20 wins, he'll hover right around 22. And if he wins the conference in some way, shape, or form, that's raising the standard. So, you agree? Do you think Eric Musselman will, at the very least, slightly raise the standard at USC?
Yeah, I do agree. I was actually shocked by that average record, especially like what was their record last year? Were they that good last year? And I just didn't know about them. I feel like they weren't that great last year. I don't know. I didn't watch them a ton, but. No, I totally agree. I think this is a coach that's going to be able to make tournament runs. He's going to be able to make a Big Ten tournament run. We talked about that already. He's going to be able to make tournaments in general. Like in this conference, that's going to be something that a lot of teams can't say they can do every year. So I think USC will be able to do that. Again, I'll say the same thing I said about Diebler. 22 wins is a lot to get every year. And I will double back just a little bit too. It also depends on what your non-conference scheduling is going to be. If you're just going to talk about the wins, if you're a team like Michigan State and you're going to schedule really hard teams every year, your average is going to be a little bit lower because you're playing ranked teams all the time. If you're somebody like, I was just on Locked On Illini last week. We were talking about Indiana's schedule. Their schedule was super soft in the non-conference, so their wins might be a little bit higher on average. So if you're just looking at the wins, it might be tough to say, for sure it's going to be higher than 22, but I 100% agree with you. I think it's going to be over 20, and I think it's going to be right at that mark. And I also think that they're going to be in the running for Big Ten tournaments and regular season conference championships, so the standard has been raised there as well.
Yeah, I agree. I went back and looked at the records just to get a little bit of a reference. And since 2019, Andy Enfield had USC doing really, really well. Now they only got to the first round, or they didn't get out of the first round the 2 years prior to this past year. So obviously you're going to have the fans pretty upset about that. But 2019, 2020, 22 wins. Next year, 25 wins. Next year, 26 wins. Next year, 22 wins. And then this last year, they were 15 and 18. So obviously a downer year. And after losing in the first round 2 years in a row, that's not popular with the fans.
I apologize, USC. I was not familiar with your game. I did not know they were winning that many games every year.
Well, their fans hated Infield so much that it was hard to know. They were top 5 at one point in 2021 and 2022. So now these past 5 years, he only finished in the top 25 twice, and he was 24th and 22nd. So he did get a good number of wins, but so must have had a pretty easy schedule. But
yeah, I didn't realize he was there for. So I just pulled up their like yearly record as well. I didn't realize he was there for that long either.
Same as Collins.
There for like 10 years.
2014. So
good for
Collins
him.
Outlasted him. Again, Collins, great coach. All right.
So we both agree that he's raising the standard. Then Eric Musselman is.
Yes, I agree.
Awesome.
If nothing else, but because I think he's going to win some championships, and I think he'll do better in the tournament than Enfield did. So, all right, last one, Washington, Danny Sprinkle. It's not I don't think it's too hard to raise the standard here. 14 and 16.8 average record over the past 5 years. No conference tournament championships, no regular season championships. Washington, obviously, a pretty hard place to recruit, but if you have the financial backing to be able to pay $2 million to Great Osobor, I mean, I think he's going to raise it, especially if he has that kind of financial backing. I think the Big Ten is going to be tough, but, I mean, I don't see them stooping down to what Minnesota and Nebraska were the past few years. I mean, I could see them being higher than that, being maybe a middle of the road Big Ten team, maybe just a little bit lower than that at the very least. They might pop down to last, like I talked about, maybe a season or two, but I think he's going to raise the standard. What say you, Kent?
This is the only person that I wrote down. It's going to stay the same. I think it's going to be right at that level. I just don't see. I don't know if it's something that is, I'm going to have to be convinced otherwise, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. When I see them actually play this year and I see Danny Sprinkle and the type of coach that he is, then I can make a more confident, assertion on what's really going to happen at Washington in the next few years. But I don't really know him. And my recollection of Washington is exactly this right here, a below 500 team, a school that doesn't get a ton of big recruits, and it's just not, the most fun. I will say they're not the most fun to follow. So I would say that it's probably going to stay the same, at least for a couple years. And I need to see some big changes happen before I say, yeah, this is about to turn around right here. I think it's going to be about right here for a while.
I can definitely see that. I kind of just lean over just because it has been so bad. And like I said,
who would you pick Washington to beat right now in our conference? Who are they beating? And you're going to put your name on the line that they're for sure going to beat this team.
I think they'll beat Iowa. I don't love Iowa coming back this next year. I know people love Maryland, but I think they could beat Maryland.
I don't know. I'm not so sure. I don't know.
I'm not
like
really
for them
projecting
to give
this year as much as I'm looking at the next 5 years.
I got you.
And like I said, bringing in better players, but I'm with you with if they pay a guy $2 million and that guy isn't even changing the program to the point where they're going to bring in better players, maybe the NIL means nothing. So
exactly, yeah.
Philip says Maryland because Willard sucks.
That's fact. That's the only coach that I've ever said anything bad about on this show or ever, I think, is Willard. So I agree, Philip.
I love
not
the
a big fan.
I love the analysis from the chat. All right. Unfortunately, we can't get on to all the chat items because we do need to move on.
I didn't even look at the chat. What's up, chat?
Wisconsin. Washington will beat Wisconsin.
Yes, I actually agree with that too. Yeah. I'm off Wisconsin.
Here, look, the odds: Penn State, Nebraska, Minnesota. Could they beat them?
Well, they're tied with Penn State and Nebraska, so those are going to be good games.
True. I guess we'll have to look at the home and
I
don't have the schedule memorized.
Yeah.
But all right, Big Ten odds came out for the Big Ten championship, and we're looking at some interesting odds. Indiana comes in tied for third, and if you listen on podcast, I'll go ahead and read it off to you. I'm just going to read the order. I'm not going to do all the plus minus. UCLA, Michigan State, Purdue, Indiana, Rutgers, Ohio State, Illinois, Michigan, Maryland, Oregon, USC, Wisconsin, Northwestern, Iowa, Washington, Penn State, Nebraska, and Minnesota at plus 15,000, not 1,500, plus 15,000 odds. Poor Ben Johnson. Poor guy. That's outrageous. Plus 15,000 odds. So, Kent, this is pretty interesting to me. UCLA at the top. I have viewed UCLA as a contender. I don't know if I would have put them as my favorite to win the Big Ten. Obviously, Vegas knows something that we don't know, or they have a confidence in them that maybe I don't have. But I was thinking maybe we'd see Indiana, Purdue here at the top. But, yeah, they're just tied with third. What are your overall thoughts and reaction to these odds list?
I think that it was, for the most part, pretty accurate. And I'll start at the bottom. with the things that I have a quarrel with. The Minnesota disrespect is absolutely insane. I need to find out who made these odds, and I need to speak with them for a moment. You don't disrespect Ben Johnson like that. You don't disrespect Parker Fox like that. You just don't do it. So whoever did it, I need names, and I need addresses.
Vegas.
I would like to. I'd like to have a conversation with them. I can't believe they're the only ones that are at that odds. By the way, we just got done talking about this. Like, for them to be lower than Washington, I'm thinking is very that's really surprising to me, because I think Minnesota is better than them. I'll say that off top. I think that Minnesota is better than Washington.
Better than who? Washington.
I think Minnesota is better than Washington.
Yeah, but they don't have anybody on their team named Great. So
that's true. If I go back up to the top, though, when I look at odds like this, I'm looking for places that I think is a spot where you can make a lot of money. So I start looking at teams that I believe can win the conference. And right now, I have 4. I have UCLA, who is at the top. I have Purdue, who is second. I have Indiana, Purdue, who is third. Indiana's fourth. And then I have Illinois, who is 7th in the odds, I believe, if I'm counting that right, at plus 1,000. So I was shocked the most to see Illinois that far down the list. And if you're looking for a spot to make some money, I guess that's where I would place my money to have fun with it. You know, it's easy to put it on one of those top teams and be like, all right, you're still going to make a little bit of money. If you really want to make some, though, I'd go with Illinois. That'd be a fun one. They're going to have a good team next year.
Is that your best bet?
I think my best bet would be Illinois. You know, even right below them, Michigan is a fine bet, but I don't think they're actually going to win the conference next year. So I think that that's like one that you're going to lose your money. It might be fun throughout the season, but you're not actually going to win it. Like, you could really win it with Illinois next year at 1,000. I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, I mean, like, Michigan, they have a good roster, and I think they could win it, but it's just so hard for a brand new coach to come in and win the conference right off the bat like that. So I'm with you there. I think Michigan will contend and do well, but brand new coach coming in like that, that's really, really difficult. Philip says Ohio State getting a lot better odds than I would give them. Look, if you would have told me Ohio State is the same odds as Illinois, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think that they should be. I don't think they should be super far below them, but I was kind of surprised to see that as well, though.
Yeah, I think they should definitely be above Maryland, and right around with Michigan. You know, I'm kind of understanding that. I see those teams in similar situations, good rosters coming in, but first year head coaches in the Big Ten, so that's going to be difficult. But at the end of the day, like Rutgers, I still struggle with 2 freshmen and Steve Pikiell's inability to create offense as a head coach. I don't know, like you can't put everything on these freshmen. Freshmen are not what they used to be in college basketball, with guys having extra time and guys getting older, transferring around and being able to fit in better systems or fit in systems that are better for them. And I think a lot more guys are smart and savvy about getting in the transfer portal and not just going to the highest bidder, but going to a place where they fit the system much better. So I don't know. Like if I was looking for a team in the top, 5 or 6 odds there that has the potential to finish in the bottom half in the Big Ten, it's unfortunate, but I'm picking Rutgers. Like their odds are just too high, and I don't know if it's going to work out for them.
I think Rutgers is a little bit too high, but I also think of the perspective of the sports book. Like there's a lot of hype around them, and like so much happening with them that they're like, let's shoot it up there and see if we can get some people to bite on this and get some free money out of them. And I think they did the exact same thing with Michigan State. Like, that's brand recognition, putting them up near the top. I don't think that anybody – I really don't. Like, this is going to sound crazy to say about Michigan State. And maybe it's a little recency bias just because of what happened last year. But if I got together a group of friends and I said, hey, we have to make a top 5 list of the teams that are for sure going to have a chance to win the Big Ten next year, and the people that I respect that watch basketball, I'm not sure that any of them would put Michigan State in the top 5. I don't think that they would. So I'm surprised to see them 2. I understand Tom Izzo's still there. I understand they got some decent players coming back. They also have some guys that are going to be brand new that they're expecting to do some massive things for them in a conference that's going to be really tough and has more teams now. So I just don't put them in the top 5. That's just me. It might be crazy.
I might still have them 4th or 5th. Second does seem crazy to me, especially with you lost Tyson Walker.
But don't you think that's all like that's the sports book saying like it's Michigan State, it's a name recognition type thing. That's why they're
totally.
up there.
Totally. Yeah. And I'm sure there's people betting on it or not betting on it, and I'm sure that's affecting the odds as well. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. All right, we got a lot of comments here, so I'm gonna get to some of these. Dick Trickle, Dick, nice to have you back. It's been a while. Purdue is going back to the chip again. The Big Ten chip or the national championship? If they go back to back the national championship, I will take back anything bad I've ever said about Matt Painter in the NCAA tournament. That would be awesome. After
I love Matt Painter's picture on here, by the way. Like
the 2-time player.
Hold on, I'm trying to do his picture. Do you see this here?
Oh yeah. That's what I chose that picture on purpose because he's looking straight at it, and if he's looking right at Purdue, he's like, "Oh, really? You have me?"
I can't get my face right to match it.
Yeah, other way. Yeah.
There we go.
Dick Trickle says Wisconsin is free money. Are you saying you're picking Wisconsin to win?
Huh? No, don't do it, Dick.
I wouldn't waste your money on that, but
don't do that.
Maybe they win it all, and
I would go Northwestern before them. They're below Wisconsin.
Philip says Michigan State too high. He agrees with you.
Hey man, me and Philip are on the same page tonight.
Yeah, you and Philip, best buddies. Dick Trickle says this is Izzo's farewell tour. I don't know. I feel the same way about Izzo that I did about Harbaugh in football, where it's like I'll believe he leaves when I see it. Always been rumored, always talked about. I'll believe it when I see it. And it's going to happen eventually. I just don't know when.
I really thought it was going to be last year, especially with his son being a senior and everything. I was surprised to see him come back. I thought he was going to do it after the season and just be like, not make a big deal about it. That's such an Izzo thing. He would just be like, all right, I'm done. I didn't want a big publicity tour like that or whatever. Like, I'm just done.
I respect anybody that doesn't have a big publicity store like Mike Krzyzewski. Jeez. Well, okay, Philip. So I've heard this name. I don't want to remember this name because I can't pronounce it.
Great name.
If Illinois could just get players, like we talk a lot of Illinois basketball because they have a lot of fans and people want to hear about them. Obviously, we don't talk very much Northwestern other than Kent because there's not very many Northwestern fans out there. But Caparis, Jacques
Yukonis. How did I do?
It was pretty good.
I don't know if that's right or not.
Yeah.
I know about him too because, like I said, I've been doing some stuff with Sonny, so I feel like I know a little bit more about Illinois than I usually do. But they also have a kid named Will Riley coming in this year, and he is the truth. Like Illinois is going to be really tough this year. That's why I'm saying when I clicked on this, I was shocked to see them that low, and it even had it was from today, right? Like I think that article got posted today, so I was like, I might go make some money real quick because I think Illinois is going to be up there.
I think they will be too. I just question if they're going to have that Marcus Domask type of guy. Marcus Domask was one of the main reasons why they were able to be as good as they were. Was kind of an unsung hero at times. Obviously, Terrence Shannon Jr., Coleman Hawkins, like all those other stars. But Marcus Domask sometimes was really making that team work and filled that role of point guard when he needed to and just did so many different things. So I think if one of these guys they brought in is a Marcus Domask-esque, sure, I think they're going to battle for the top 10 or the contend for the Big Ten championship. But if they don't, I don't know. We'll see. Barry says Diebler is a fraud. Don't hurt me like that, Barry. I can't deny it, but don't hurt me like that. Philip, switch Maryland and the Fighting Parker Fox.
Amen, Philip. Look at it. Philip knows ball, dude. He's a ball knower.
Izzo probably goes 3 or 4 more years. Fears is one of the last seniors. Yeah, Fears is going to be good, I think. It's a shame he didn't get to play much last year.
Yeah, but like I said, I feel like they're expecting a lot out of him. That he was the name that I was thinking of that I couldn't think of earlier when I was talking about that. They're expecting a lot out of him, and he's never played, right? Or did he play a couple games?
Fears played a little bit at the beginning of the season and then had the unfortunate shooting happen.
Yeah.
But he didn't play after that, and I don't think he practiced after that. So,
right.
I mean, I wouldn't practice after I got shot either. So
I hope he's great, by the way. I hope he's the best.
I mean, too.
He can't be much worse than A.J. Hogar was. Like, that guy.
Listen, Ohio State football had a guy a few years ago that he went to go save a woman in like a street fight or something like that, and he got shot between the cheeks. Like you know those piercings they have where it's like a ball on your cheek? Like, he got shot there. It went through the cheeks. And he came back, and he had a great season the next year. So, I am all for not players getting shot, but if they do get shot, I'm all for them coming back and having a spectacular season. I'm for them having a spectacular season, not for them getting shot, but for them having a spectacular season.
Would you take a bullet to be a good Big Ten basketball player? Would you do that right now?
No.
Speaking of, that was one of the other things.
What's my NIL deal?
I was gonna say that was one of the other things we did on the Bachelor weekend. We went paintballing. That was super fun.
Did you get hit in the face between the cheeks?
I did get hit in the face. Well, you got to wear a face mask, but I got hit in the head. I got hit in the face. I actually took one to the neck. That was a tough one.
That works. That hurts.
Yeah,
but
it was fun.
I thought the face mask just goes down to like your nose. It goes all the way over.
No, yeah, it went all the way down to your chin.
Okay, but not the neck.
Yeah, it didn't go over the top though, which they used to make them that go all the way over the top. So if you get hit in your head, but I got shot right here. It was a tough one.
They were really going for you. All right, Kent. I don't know how much discussion we're going to have on this one, but I felt like it was interesting news. So the NCAA seeding committee, the NCAA tournament committee, their seeding will now consider Torvik and records versus bubble teams. So a little bit of interesting information here. Obviously, the NCAA tournament committee, they consider certain things. Everybody is free to consider whatever they want, but in the meeting room, they're given certain numbers and things like that. So obviously Torvik is now on a similar level with KenPom in their minds. And then bubble teams is another record they're going to look at. They look at all different kinds of records. They look at conference records, home loss records, records with the net and, quad 1, quad 2 games, all that kind of stuff. Now they're going to be looking at bubble teams records or teams against bubble teams and considering, okay, should you be a 9 seed if you have, a bad record against all these bubble teams, or should we knock you down to, say, an 11 or 12? We're not necessarily going to take you out of the tournament because of it, but we are going to let it affect your seeding. Kent, do you like this? Do you like more metrics? Are you kind of like you want them to vibe it out, or what's your take on the NCAA tournament committee now considering these numbers?
I'm split on it. I don't love this because I feel like it makes it even more difficult to figure out who's going to make it in the tournament. And that is a fun thing to do, but it's more fun when it's just like, hey, I think this team is better than this team, so they should be in the tournament. That's more fun for me to do because I'm lazy and I'm a casual, so I love doing that, and I don't want to go through and figure out Torvik and records versus all the other teams they beat and when they beat them and when the game took place and where it was at, and all that stuff is very difficult for me. I do have time for it. I just don't want to do it, though. That's the thing. I just want to be like, hey, they threw all the metrics out. They're just going to go off vibes, as you said, and just pick teams that they think are better, which is kind of, I feel like, what they do in football sometimes. They're just like, you know what? Florida State, nope, not this year. We're not feeling it this year. Your quarterback's gone. And we have this little rule in our thing that says that we don't have to if a major player gets hurt. So, bye. So I kind of like that format a little bit better, even though people have hated that the last couple of years and stuff. But it makes it difficult. It makes it fun for some people. But for me, I just like to actually watch the basketball game and be like, I think this team is better than this team. They should be in the tournament.
Well, and I go back to Michigan State last year, right? I mean, the metrics loved Michigan State. And this is where I hate the metrics of college basketball because, you get into like, well, they performed well against these quad teams and this kind of stuff. And so they were a 9 seed. I mean, last year under Jake Diebler, I fully believed that Ohio State was just as good, if not a better team than Michigan State. And they beat Michigan State on the road. So have that justification there as well. But of course, the metrics had Michigan State all the way up at, in like the 20s. Even though they were not having a great season, they had a worse record than Ohio State. And Michigan State, they were up near the 20s. And sure, they justified themselves. They beat Mississippi State, okay? I mean, Mississippi State had a nice season last year, but, okay, it's Mississippi State. Like, they were an 8 seed. They were seeded too high. Not a good SEC program for the most part. So, like, I think Ohio State could have won that game, but at the end of the day, Michigan State had all the metrics. But then, like you bring up, Jordan Travis in Florida State, he loses. They lose him, and they don't even make the playoffs because of that. Well, if you look at the metrics, they were still really, really good on defense. So, yeah, they lost their quarterback, but they were still really, really good on defense. So, I'm torn. I think at a certain point, like, it's just there's too many metrics. And I think every committee member probably favors some metrics over others. And I guess that's where I come out with it, where it's like, why are we limiting it? Just let them use whatever they want. Like, if they have their own metrics, like, let them use it. If you are putting somebody on this committee, they should know enough about basketball that they don't need every metric in the world. Or if they are using a metric, they know how to identify if this metric is accurate or not. Like, I think almost every single person who watched Michigan State last year was willing to say, yeah, the metrics say this, but I don't see that when I play them, or when I see them play basketball. Now, there were some people we brought on the show said they did see it, but at the end of the day, I don't like the all metrics approach. I'm okay with some metrics, but I don't like the all metrics approach.
Well, I do think that it's odd that they're being transparent here on the front end, but then when it comes down to the brass tacks of it, they're not going to tell us how they chose these teams anyway. So it's like, why are you even telling us that you're including all this? Like, what I think they should do is televise it. Televise the whole thing when they're making the bracket, right? And there should be announcers, and there should be, like, reasoning and everything. And, like, that broadcast would do absolutely groundbreaking numbers. It would be
would it do better than the the reveal when they reveal the bracket and everything?
I think so. I actually think it would, because teams would be like, all right, let's figure out why we did or didn't get in the tournament, because and I can see it now. They're like around a table, and like not only is it just those guys talking and you can hear that, but there's also like a commentary too, like a color commentator and like a play-by-play person. Like, oh, Jackson over there just made a good point about, UCLA. I don't know why I just picked them. They're obviously going to make the tournament, but whatever. Like, they did have a good record in this metric and this metric, and that's going to be the reason they get in the tournament. Let's see, John. Let's look in here. Let's see. And they made the tournament. Wow. They're in. Look at that.
I'm fully on board with like a Manning cast type deal. Like, put coaches that have no chance of making the tournament on it.
Oh,
and just let them go to work. And it's like, oh yeah, I've had interactions with this guy. This guy knows nothing about basketball. Watch, he's gonna put this team a 5 seed, and everybody else gonna have 9. Like, just complete truth. I'd be fine with anonymity for the commentators, so that way they can just be completely truthful and be like, this guy sucks. Don't listen to this guy.
That would be awesome. That would be a great. They should just put it like they should do it like us. Bring us on. We'll commentate it, and we'll just stream it on YouTube, and we can get this thing going.
There we go. Our YouTube numbers will do better than ESPN's numbers when they or
for
CBS,
sure.
Not ESPN. ESPN's women's basketball. Philip says record versus bubble is interesting. I think so too, but I also feel like you kind of already get that with the quad 1, quad 2.
Yeah, like define bubble. Like, what does that even mean?
I mean,
I didn't read the article, so what's that mean?
Like, every year they have 16 teams they consider on the bubble. Obviously, once you get closer to it, that kind of shrinks down to like 12, 8, sometimes 4 teams that you have on the bubble. They obviously have their first 4 in, last 4 out, first 4 out, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's interesting.
You know what we're heading for, though, is a pre-tournament bubble tournament, and that's what we're going to get soon. It's going to be a bubble tournament to see who makes the tournament. There's going to be 8 teams that make it.
So you're going to have the NIT,
the
bubble tournament, And
that has a good ring to it, by the way. The bubble tournament.
Bubble tournament, yeah, it's kind of fun to say. Well, we covered the NIT,
and then you have the play-in game still too. So the winners of the bubble tournament, like the final 4 of the bubble tournament, or the final 8. So that's what it'll be. It'll be 16 bubble teams. Didn't you just say it was 16? Something like that. So, all right, so 16 bubble teams.
The play-in games turn into 16.
It's 16 bubble teams. They win 1 bubble game, and then they get the 8 spots for the play-in game, and then they're in the play-in. They're still not in the tournament, and then they actually get in the tournament.
That's true. That's a good one.
It's a lot of games.
I like Philip's idea here. Have the panel be the bubble coaches, so they're like, "What? You left us out, dude? Did you not see San Diego State? Really? They played a crap conference."
Yes,
that'd
be sweet.
Yeah, I'm all for
yeah, you
that.
just bring in the 16 coaches, and like they have to argue to see like who actually makes it, and there's like a judge.
Yeah.
They go, all right, well that guy was nice at least, so they're making it in.
Philip also says, bubble tournament, isn't that just conference tournaments? No, because bubble tournament,
yeah.
you could see, Colorado play Ohio State, which you probably would have saw in the NIT anyway. So
totally. There's never
Ohio
enough
State
tournaments, by the way.
Yeah.
There's not enough tournaments. We need more tournaments, if anything, in this country.
We have so many tournaments at the beginning of the season, so many tournaments after the season. Yeah. Now you have mid-season tournaments for the NBA. I can't stand the NBA. That's probably why I'm not very good at listening to college basketball podcasts, because in the offseason they all just talk about the NBA, and like, I don't want to listen to this.
Yeah, no thank you.
Jeff does say, love the look of the new pod background. JR, the topics across the top and the whole look feel are sick. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate that. I do my best to do the best with the graphics, and I do think that the graphics on the side look nice and show the rankings and things like that better. So appreciate you noticing that. And
excellent work, JR.
Yeah, thank you. Do you love the look, Kent? Or do you
I love the look.
Okay, all right.
Mainly because my face is part of the look right now.
I was gonna say you're right in the middle, so
yeah. Maybe that's why Jeff likes it so much too. Yeah. Who knows?
Well, he didn't mention your face in the
darn it
list there. So, all right. I don't have anything else to comment on with this. You have anything else with the NCAA tournament before we get out of here, Kit?
I don't think so. I think I covered the. I try to present something new every time I come on here, and I think today we found out what that is. It's the bubble tournament.
Listen, we are going to pound our fists so hard for the bubble tournament. We're going to make it happen. Kent, why don't you tell people where they can find you? You have a new endeavor going on since Monday. You have a new hobby. What's going on?
Yeah, I guess I would call it that. I mean, I play video games anyways, but now since I've got into content making a little bit more the last couple years, I've figured out how to do some live streams. So I have been streaming the new football game. It's going really well for me. It's about average for like what I would be doing anyways. I'm just putting it out on the internet now, but I'm 5-5 right now. Let me get this off my chest. This is like going to be my quick therapy session. 3 losses of my 5. Illinois against Alabama. I got stopped on the 2-yard line, would have tied the game.
Were you Illinois or were you Alabama?
I'm only playing with Big Ten teams, so I'm Illinois.
Okay. Wow, that's impressive.
It was impressive. It was a great game.
Yeah.
Yet last night, I hit a kick perfectly on the kick meter to come back I was with Oregon, and I came back on Florida State from down 21, and I got it to 20, and I was kicking the PAT, hit it perfectly, and it missed.
Wow.
So I lost 21-20. That was with 30 seconds left. And then, but an hour before this game, I got stopped on the half-yard line with Will Pauling against, who was I playing this afternoon? I can't remember who I was playing this afternoon. But again, would have been a tying touchdown with 11 seconds left. So 3 times I have been inside the 5-yard line with my losses that would have tied the game and sent it to overtime. I'm not bitter about it. I need to get better. I need to do better, and I'm going to. So if you guys come follow me on Twitter at Casual Big Ten and on YouTube at Casual Big Ten is where the live streams go out at. So I'm having fun with it. I love the game, though. Game is awesome.
I don't want to offend you, Kent, but those 3 games you mentioned kind of sounded Scott Frost-esque. Not, like I said, not trying to offend you, but the good news is
maybe
I think you have Chris Collins in you, where you can come back and win Coach of the Year.
I don't know about that. I don't know. These games
You
are all
killed Russ.
they're tough, man. Oh, I did play Russ, by the way.
Yeah, I watched that one. I think I.
Oh, did you? Yeah, I
but
smacked
had
him
to go.
up.
Yeah, you destroyed Russ. So congrats.
He's
to
gonna
you.
get better though. He'll get better the next time we play for
He's
sure.
playing with Purdue, so
Yeah.
I guess you had IU though, so
Yeah.
fair match. So
I think
all
so.
right. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. We do appreciate it. Kent, thank you so much for coming on. We are gonna be having SEC show again tomorrow, Friday, ACC. I have the whole list here next to you. We are gonna start the all college football show back up soon in July. It's just kind of harder with people not as interested and harder to get guests on. I don't have a reliable guest on that show like I do on this show with Kent and the other show with Zach. So it's a little bit harder to do that every single week, but we will do our best. Check out the other shows. They are good. Maybe you don't know those hosts quite as well, but they put a lot of time and effort into it, and I think they do a good job. So check it out. We do appreciate you being here for the Big Ten Huddle, and we'll be back next Tuesday, me and Zach, and then next Wednesday, me and Kent. Right? You're here next Wednesday, Kent?
I'm not here next Wednesday. I'm sorry.
Okay. So maybe Sonny or somebody else
I was
that.
just about to talk to you about that after we got off here.
All right. So you have to wait 2 more weeks for Kent. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it. Have a good one.